Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And you know what? I'm thinking it's time to probably open up, give myself to the world. I've kind of been in hermit mode my whole life, and then at different points, very intensely, just kind of doing my thing, hiding from the world. And I decided that it's time not to do that anymore. How can I sit back and criticize other people uh, if I'm not putting myself out there? That's not fair to just sit out there and criticize and be angry that I'm not successful, be angry that, and maybe, and it's like, why? You are just as talented, just as gifted and connected as everyone else can be, deserves to be, and you got to change your life. Midlife crisis. You kind of take inventory, whether you're conscious of it or not. It's like, how have I been doing the last 40 years? Do I want to continue doing that? What are you good at? What are your skills? What can you give the world? You know, there's the there's the great work to do. Like, did you do the smaller work, which was transform your work yourself? And then are you a part of the collective transformation, the great work, the lifting up of humanity? Like, are you done playing the victim? Are you done feeling like a martyr? Are you done feeling like the world owes you something? Like, what is going on? And so, like, if you didn't work that out by the early teen years, then you have your midlife crisis to work it out again. And then I would say if you didn't do that, then you have your deathbed to try that again. And it's like, come on, buddy. It's like, so a lot of transformations going on with the individual called Onyx Moon, who is a fellow human being, having a human experience. But there's this whole other side to Onyx, the whole other side of the moon, that is having I guess for lack of better words, would say a full on spiritual experience, probably since day one, you know? And so it's like, what are you into? What do you want to share? What does the world need? You know? And it's like, the world needs connection. The world needs this in balance: love, wisdom, and power. What are your values? Who are you? I believe, what do you stand for? So I've been binge watching Bashar, and everything that he says is stuff I kind of already know. He's saying it in a way that's kind of like breaking through that wall. So I feel like, and I'm like, how is it that everything he's saying I already know? You know? And how come I have said all of this, but in different words? And it's like, it's universal truth, it's universal wisdom. And so it doesn't matter the mask that brings it to you, it doesn't matter the system that gets you reconnected to universal truth. Uh, it is what it is. It doesn't matter how it's expressed. The bottom line is it's going to be what it is. You're going to, and so, and I'm like, I am so in alignment with this, but I've had my own personal experiences with stuff, my own inner knowing. And I think everyone is privileged to take a peek at the divine in a very unique way and have a personal experience with the divine. So, and it's like, you would think after 40 years of life, you know, you should have witnessed a few things, saw the world change, um, seen past generations die out, new generations come on board. And so you should kind of have some perspective of what's going on and what is possible. And I think life should have ground you down enough to have a little bit of empathy, understanding, and compassion. And you should have grown enough where you can now interact with the world. Uh, if you weren't able to do that at an early age, then certainly by midlife, you maybe should have visited a few countries, saw that everything that you're being told isn't exactly how it is, you know. So you should have experienced what it is to be alive and what it is to be a human being. Uh, and so with that, should give you a certain kind of like overall understanding with the human experience. So you should have enough ability to relate to then whatever your gifts are truly serve and be of service. Okay, I gotta push pause. My eye. Hold on. All right, we're back. So in the past with my videos, I've tried to present them in a very grounded way. I wanted everyone to realize that yes, you could access hermetic knowledge for yourself, spiritual abilities, um, in a very grounded, practical, everyday way. And now I'm kind of reviewing it, going, you know what? Maybe that's good and all, but you're selling yourself short. Because I'm looking at a lot of YouTubers who've kind of made like a gang on YouTube. They kind of have their circle of elite in the knowing spiritual people. They got their studios, they have their talk, they have their friends, they go to Egypt, and they're like supposedly at the top of their game. They're at the top. And I'm like, bros, there's what about all these women who have these abilities? What about all these other groups? Uh, maybe due to their labels, whatnot, doesn't invalidate their information, you know? And so I'm kind of over these groups, these cliques, these organized, well defined things that are all pushing an agenda. And I think it's based upon how they see the world, how they see the elephant, you know, and they're patting each other on the back. And I'm like, what happens if you're actually in the valley and you haven't even gone up, you haven't even gone hiking yet to the mountaintop, you know? And I'm like, this isn't it. This might be the very beginning, or we might be kind of going the wrong direction here. So maybe we need to wipe the slate clean and, you know, get into that discovery mode, get into that enchanted beginner's mindset. And I notice it's really hard for people to get away from like religious concepts, archetypes. The Western psychology model is kind of like a religion. For all the good it can do, it's going to hinder you just as much. It's like when you slap a mask on God and you've now hindered it. So that's kind of what I'm saying, is like I'm open to possibilities, and certain things get on my nerves and trigger me. And is that good or bad? I don't know, but this is a place where I'm going to voice it. I'm like, I don't know if the whole out of body experience thing, like, okay, so I love to jump out of my body, do some astral projection, go to higher dimensions, play in higher chakras, you know? And then turns out that way back when people thought these aliens from out people thought these ancient aliens were encouraging people to get out of their bodies so they could take over the earth. And so any practice or spiritual practice that's out of body is now bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, scary. And I don't know if that's the whole story. Turns out that's not the whole story. Turns out that you have to, it's like a circuit. You have to be able to move up and out, but you also have to be able to come back and in. So, this is where a lot of people in certain generations and movements have lost it. They're so focused on upper chakras that they lose balance with reality. Okay? They get too polarized on the vertical axis or too polarized on the horizontal axis. So, anyways, so now it's kind of become popular. Everyone's like, okay, let's get back into our bodies. Um, and and like that's cool and all, but it has to work in balance both ways. So really, what I'm saying is balance. But really, what I'm saying even more strongly is there's all this information out there, and I would say there's a lot of novices out there. And what creates a novice? You may know a lot, you may have read a lot, but I would say what creates novice is someone with little experience. Then I could pat myself on the back and say, I've had all this experience. It doesn't matter how much experience I've had. I want you to have the experience. And so I think a classroom setting or a retreat setting is great for you to have your own experience. So I've really moved out of teacher mode, doer mode, being a healer, being the psychic, to being a facilitator. You know, 40 years later in my life, on whatever journey and path I've been on, I'm starting to really understand that we're facilitating a process. That process is with you and it's kind of brought on by you, for you, with you. Like you're discovering more about you. Know thyself. And I really love this quote. I'm just gonna say it's like one of my like top 3 quotes. That I will repeat probably forever. I don't know. The more I went looking for God and only found myself, I went looking for myself and only found God. So if you want to know the mysteries of the universe, look for yourself, you know, and you're going to find the universe. And if you want to find, like, you know, and vice versa. So I just think that really sums up the paradoxical nature, the paradox of life. It sums up polarity. It sums up holographic reality theory, fractals, all in one in all. So oneness, all of that. That little quote is very profound. Um, but what is so? Okay, I feel like there's always agendas, and our agenda's bad. No, but wouldn't it be nice if people were kind of clear about it? They're like, okay, you guys, I have an agenda. This is my belief system, and I'm strongly pushing it on you. And I want to create a group of people who are also into my agenda, which is we believe in aliens, and or you know, or we believe that Atlantis is rising again and everything that we do. So, all of us who believe in Atlantis rising again, let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya and have a great party. Cool. Now that you're out and open and transparent, you're being real and authentic, everyone in the group knows why they're there. everyone in the group kind of knows the angle uh, that all your information is going. So I feel like everyone in that group is going to be served. And then they might find out, oh, this is not what I don't want to have to pick these other ingredients out of the soup that you're feeding me, you know? I came for the pink punch, not the green or turquoise or purple or the punch that also has this spiked into it. So it's like, I feel like that needs to happen. And consciously or unconsciously, I think, especially in psychic and spiritual arts, you should always be working for clarity. The clearer you are, the better psychic, intuitive channel you're going to be, whether it's energy work or some type of belief model, therapy, or whatever. Um, really kind of let people know what you're about, who you are, and also be open for that back and forth. So this is kind of the new direction I'm going. So way back when I went to a mystery school, and the headmaster of the mystery school, she basically said, Onyx, I'm looking to retire. I'm an old lady now. And there's a lot going on politically within our school, lawsuits all the time because there's so many victims. And then also within her relationship, so in the world, the health of her family. There's a lot of dynamics going on. You're juggling a lot of worlds. Like, it's really hard to keep a mystery school running. So she looked at me and she's like, I would like to turn the school over to you. I'm like, I'm just in my 20s and I don't know how to handle people who are going through menopause. I don't know how to handle people who are cheating on their boyfriend and having all these, or having a religious crisis because they came from some religion and now they're practicing magic in our mystery school, you know, or, and then I don't know how to put it all together. I'm here for unicorns and fairies, and then now there's all these aliens and DNA activations and what's going on. So I was like, thank you for the offer. Are you serious? I mean, I know I have the power, I know I have the potential, but I don't think it's ripe yet. Uh, so I didn't have faith in myself at that time. And we were doing, it was during her psychic, I think it was called Spiritual Gifts, was the title of the workshop. Um, and you make a black scrying mirror and you do these sigils and you summons these beings in your black mirror. And I'm like, I was invited to come to the mystery school by a lady I didn't even know. I was given a scholarship and a free ride. The universe hooked me up. I was in class. All these other people have gone through all these other grades. They've been in the mystery school for years. They know what they're doing. I like I never thought you had to summon something with a magical seal or see it through an object like a mirror. And so I didn't feel confident. I'm like, I don't think I'm ready to teach until I start seeing the beings that you guys are summoning. You know, I'm used to seeing other things, especially in my dreams, but in our classroom, and yeah, and also, yeah. So I was like, I don't think I'm ready right now. So I go, I will take the other path. So the other path that's offered is you kind of get to specialize in an area and you get to do research and study, and develop that area. But then the goal is to come back to the school and with your new insights, whether it was a healing modality or whatever it was, you kind of come back to the school, share it, and the tradition lives on as new esoteric information for future generations. So really, when you're in a mystery school, it impacts past, present, and future. And you are like light bearers, and you are part of the tradition that has this other type of knowledge that isn't mainstream. Uh, that's supposed to uplift humanity and all this other stuff. Okay. So that's kind of the gist of it. So I went off on my own. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go hermit. I'm not living in the Himalayas in this lifetime. So I will just hermit myself, live like a monk, uh, just do what I do. And I'm like, so I did. And I did. And I did. And during all this time, I've always had an apprentice. You know, Usually we were playing around with shamanism and stuff like that. Uh, and so it's like-minded people. Uh, but now it's like, dude, you could die tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen. You've been out in the world and you saw it wasn't really growing. Uh, it wasn't, people weren't maturing emotionally, mainstream. People are still very petty. People are still squandering their time, their resources. They don't really understand so much about just being a human being and living. And I wouldn't say it's exactly the Matrix. I wouldn't say anyone is controlling anyone. I don't think it is the higher powers that are doing it. It's not all this manipulation and conspiracy theory. I think it's just kind of human nature uh, to kind of just slowly slide back or just stay still, caught in an eddy, like just kind of circle around and around and around and call it life. And you get sick of it and you go, oh, I'm just getting old and tired and kerplunk. Guess I was expecting too much out of life, you know? And the answer is no, you weren't. You just didn't have the information. You didn't know how to uh, expand your bandwidth to get more data. You didn't know that these things that you thought were wishful thinking are reality, part of this reality. So I think we get a lot of people who try to re-energize the mystery school teachings, or just the simple spiritualism. They try to re-energize it with like quantum physics. They're always using the paper slit theory about the electrons or the light photons choosing where they're going to land, when they're being observed or when they're not being observed. And then the other phenomena, like there's some phenomena. And I'm like, really? You're going to base all this new spirituality theory, belief systems that you've now made into religion on light beams going through two pieces of paper? For me, that's not enough. But the reality is, where's your experience? So I think we get too much in our heads with theories. Uh, we overbrain it. I'm gonna call it that. We think too hard. And the reality is, I'm just gonna say, uh, growing, developing, living, and learning the occult or spiritual practices has a lot to do with time, play, experiment, uh, even and even question, explore. And that takes time. And then the development, the exposure. So you need a lot of exposure. How are you going to get the exposure? But to try, to go do it, to invest your time, your energy, and your resources into it. And for you to even want to do that, you must probably value it or have a deep curiosity or hunger for it. So I can only speak for myself. And what drew me to all of this was curiosity. It wasn't because I was broken. It wasn't because I was trying to bring a boyfriend in. It wasn't because I was trying to make $1 million. You know, it wasn't because I wanted to sit on a chair and get paid. uh, for teaching like psychic workshops and teaching shamanism and all this other kind of cool stuff. It I just it just kind of was on my life path. It kind of came upon me, but it was also curiosity. And and so I feel like I've had a very blessed childhood because I had the time to develop and understand things. And the reality of it is there is no mountaintop. There's mountains and mountains and mountains and mountains. And I see people at all different levels. I see people that are like way above me who, I definitely admire and I'm very inspired. And I'm like, yes, I want to get there. And then I see people who are not. And I'm like, oh, I'm excited for you because your world gets to expand and expand and expand. And you're happy here now, but I can just see so much potential. So I see all this potential, endless potential. Um, you know, through my experience, through my point of view. Uh, and I would say the two people that I feel like, actually, I guess I'm gonna say three beings that I feel understand me and somehow like relate to my experience the most would be Carlos Castaneda, his experiences uh in his books. Some of those things parallel my experience. So I can relate and go, yeah. The other one is actually Neville Goddard. Uh some of his mystical experiences I can relate to. I'm like, yeah, that parallels mine. I more than resonate with that. Like have those kind of experiences sometimes too. And then I would say the last one would be Rumi. I feel like me and Rumi are like connected in our souls. We're from the same country or from the same region. We're both from the Middle East, and I feel I just I can't explain that one, but I definitely feel that we're both lovers. We're both mystics on that level. Like when I don't even have one of his books. I don't even sit down and I've thought about it, hey, read some Rumi, like let's get scholarly, let's like really digest some stuff. No, I'll hear like a phrase or two and I just feel like I feel like a huge bowl of water just splash on me of his wisdom. It's like one little teaspoon and it just feels like a mountain. I resonate with his vibe, with his like mystic love. Very like I resonate with it, but I don't have to like I'm like I just I feel it. I'm like, yeah. Me and him, we are like on the same wave. So I feel like, that's kind of a big insight into me. Uh but yeah. So why am I even making this video and just like talking to my people? Like today at work, um, so I've been working at this like just clothing retail store in the mall and going, sometimes I'm like, why am I here? Am I just avoiding hard work, labor, you know, getting on a roof and nailing a hammer? I'm like, dude, that's so not you. Like I couldn't even imagine like how uncomfortable conversations it would be. I'm like, from one hell into another, I'm like, okay, that's so not you. I'm like, how come I just can't do certain things? And why am I here? I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels. Am I going forward or backwards? Am I sinking? Am I swimming? What is going on? I'm like, usually when I work somewhere, there's someone I'm supposed to talk to and have like a spiritual moment and a life changing moment. Like, I'm like, where are these? I mean, I'm not feeling the fulfillment. Like I've had few moments here and there, but it wasn't like when I was at the coffee shop, and I had like a few major intense moments with people where their eyes like opened up. And today I feel like it happened. I got to channel the spirits for one of my coworkers whose parents have passed. And I bought this jacket and I was like, this is gonna be so cool. I'm gonna rock it, teaching my psychic workshops. She turns around and she's like, you're gonna do a psychic workshop? Are you psychic or something? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and then she's like, well, I've been wanting to talk to my mom. My birthday's coming up and I haven't seen her. And I'm like, and I told her I channel too. And so she's like, I would like to talk to my dead mother. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, you can do this because like this is really, really, really important to me. And I'm like, yes, I can. How do I know it? Because a couple of years ago, I decided to test my meditation powers. And these people came over and I channeled their dead brother. And I brought in all this information that was very correct. And so through my back experience, I was like, yes, I can do this. So then she's like, we should set up a time and do this. And I'm like, well, let's just see how it goes because I don't know if the spirits are going to show up. I don't like, it's a community affair. It's so I don't know how it is, how it's going to be. You know, things are changing all the time. So we kind of like walked to the front of the store and then I started to feel it starting to happen. So I gave her the reading right there. Then her dad came through, and then he like superimposed himself upon me, his energy, his spirit, and they had a great experience. And then when it was over, I felt him kind of like leave and separate himself from me, and that kind of uh, made me a little disoriented a bit. And I was like, wow, I can see why you just don't do this in public in a retail store. I'm like, you need to sit down, maybe have a space, like I've always preached, have sacred space, ground, center, do your thing. And I'm like, but this is a sign that that powers that be wants you back in service. So when I'm called to do psychic work, I feel like the higher powers, summons me. And then when they say it's time for you to break, they turn it off and I get bored. And it's like that.